This is Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
Uh-oh, is this another way you're wasting your coronavirus? This is Wretched Radio. You decide to venture out of your quarantine zone. You spy some neighbors walking down the street. You're thinking, let's keep it 6 feet, people. Nevertheless, they pass by, you stop, and you have a little chit-chat. Perhaps it sounds a little something like this. Hey, how you doing? You getting out much? Nice to be outside, isn't it? Do you think the hot air will kill the coronavirus? Do you have enough toilet paper? How are you getting along with the kids? Does it sound like that? Or does your concern that somebody might get coronavirus or cancer or heart disease and die and go to hell? Are any of our conversations with the people that we still interact with, are any of them eternal? Are any of them spiritual? Are any of them motivated by our concern that somebody will die and go to hell forever, where they will not be separated from God? God will not be distant. He's going to be right there, and it's not going to be pleasant for people. Don't waste your coronavirus. There are a number of verses about hell, describing it as an unquenchable fire. Matthew 3:12, 13:42, it's a fiery furnace. Matthew 25:41, it's an eternal fire. Mark 9:43 says the fire never goes out. It's an unquenchable fire. And Luke 3:17, 16:24, there's agony in that fire. Jude 1:7 says it is punishment in eternal fire. That should cause us to alter our conversations and perhaps guide them to something spiritual. This is always the challenge in evangelism. It's moving from conversations about stockpiling toilet paper into the gospel. How do you get there? Answer, coronavirus. Hey, may I ask you, I've been wanting to do this for the longest time, neighbor. Now that we're all maybe thinking a little bit more about our own mortalities, have you given any thought to yours? You got to do it. Look, people just are not going to walk up to us. Ding dong.
Hello.
Who is it? Now, see, I'm standing. Don't talk to me unless the door is closed. So we're just going to have to talk through the door, Joey, because I don't want to be without my social distancing. What is it that you would like today, Joey, my neighbor who's not a believer in Jesus Christ?
I was wondering if you had a cup of toilet paper to share.
Did y'all see Gabe Hughes' video? Mr. What would, when we understand the text, WWUTT. He's a pastor in Kansas, I believe is his town. And he's sitting at his desk. And the question of the video is, what are these people doing with all of this toilet paper? So he's sitting at his pastoral study and he grabs a full roll of toilet paper, sneezes into it, and then throws it away over his shoulder. What are we going to do? Somebody memed, in 2025 on this date, little Johnny says, we're done with the last roll. People might come and ask you for toilet paper, but they're not going to come and ask you, what must I do to escape the eternal flames of hell where there's agony and weeping and gnashing of teeth, where while I will experience the unmitigated wrath of God, who will not be separated from me in presence, but only via mediation. In other words, I am going to get the angry side of God continually, relentlessly in heaven. You'll get the sweet, good side of God, if I can phrase it that way, because of the mediatorial work of Jesus Christ. You're not going to get that ding-dong. You're not going to get that question. Are we wasting our coronavirus? As long as we're talking about hell. From Jonathan Edwards, to help your conception of what hell is, imagine yourself to be cast into a fiery oven or into the midst of a great furnace. How's about this? You get stuffed into a microwave. Really stuffed, because you're probably a little bigger than the square footage of your microwave. And somebody goes to push the buttons, where your pain would be as much greater than that occasioned by accidentally touching a coal of fire, because the heat is greater in hell. Imagine also that your body were to lie there for a quarter of an hour, full of fire, as full as a bright coal of fire, all the while full of quick scents. What horror would you feel at the entrance of such a furnace? And how long would that quarter of an hour seem to you? If it were to be measured by the hourglass, how long would the glass seem to be running? And after you had endured 1 minute, how unbearable would it be for you to think that you had yet to endure the other 14 minutes? That getting vivid enough for you? You're in Christ. You're not going to experience that, but your neighbor not in Christ is. Have you taken the time to look at death statistics? I have. In what appears to be an increasing debate, we'll see how these numbers ultimately shake out. What are the percentages? What are the odds? Is it 2.5 death ratio? How does it compare to the flu? Is it 0.06? In Italy, it's this. And what is it going to turn out to be? We'll find out eventually, but perhaps in your studies, you started looking at the death rates from other things, from other viruses like the flu. And you learn that there's 80,000 deaths a year. I think that's the number from the flu in the United States every year. What? Did you know that? Maybe I'm off on the number, but it's like tens of thousands from the flu. And that's a drop in the death bucket. Look up cancer. And I think that it's 600,000 and some people die every year from cancer. Joey, I don't know if you can do a quick, what's the number one killer in America, the death statistic from 2019? I was shocked. And you know what the number one death cause is? Heart disease. Whatever it is, just all different kinds of heart. It's like millions of, what? And I was shocked at those numbers. I shouldn't be. 150,000 people die on this planet every single day. You got him, Joey?
Yep. These are 2017 numbers.
Close enough.
Yeah. Heart disease 647,000, cancer 599,000, unintentional injuries 169,000.
Okay.
Chronic lower respiratory disease 160,000.
Okay, we get the point. People are dropping like flies all around us. And not to become maudlin or obsessed with death, that's inappropriate. But when I was reading those numbers, it's like, gasp. That's going on all around us. Car accidents was a staggering number of people who, the number of people who died, I think, was less than 10,000. But the number of people with permanent injuries from a car accident, shocking number. Am I letting those numbers do something to me, for me, to help me? Look, it is good that we gasp and go, oh, that's terrible. It's sort of like seeing a man without a coat going, I'm freezing over here. Oh, that's a bummer. And we don't give him a coat. I believe that would be your James 2. What kind of a faith is that? What kind of outworking does our concern actually generate? Jonathan Edwards. But what would be the effect on your soul if you knew that you must lie there enduring that torment of the full for 24 hours? How much greater would be the effect if you knew you must endure it for a whole year, 1,000 years? Oh, then how would your heart sink if you knew that you must bear it forever and ever? Christian, you don't have to, because Jesus did. That he, as Vodi Bakum said, would let you slide. He took it for you. And that should be our other motivator. Not just, oh no, my neighbor could get coronavirus and die, but I don't have to experience eternal death that my neighbor is going to because of Jesus. That should compel us to reach out no closer than 6 feet and witness to somebody. We have an opportunity to do that right now. I can't help but think again. Is this possibly an answer to the prayers that so many of us have offered up? Lord, give me the opportunity to preach the gospel. I wonder if God is just, here you go, and you're not doing anything with it. Let's not waste our coronavirus. The sinner's torment in hell will be immeasurably greater than this illustration represents. Remember, illustrations are not as bad as the actual. You say, well, this is like that. And we all agree. Every analogy, every metaphor, it limps in some way. Of course it does, because it's not the real thing. Unless you're using hyperbole, an exaggeration. the illustration is never as great as the actual. So when Jesus said it's a lake of fire, you go, well, are the people really going to be swimming in a lake of sulfur? It might be literal, but even if it's not nearly as bad as the actual. Hell is eternity in the presence of God without a mediator. Heaven is eternity in the presence of God with a mediator. You've got an eternity with a mediator. Your unsaved neighbor does not. And today, they are thinking, at least in part, about coronavirus, death, and eternity. The question for us is, will we waste our coronavirus? This is Wretched Radio.
Welcome to a world without Wretched. Nobody wants this. Please become a Wretched Gospel partner.